I think the main thing that people can do if they want to be ahead, depending on what ahead means to them, is I think that they can develop their discipline within themselves. I think that one thing that I've become really obsessed with over the past couple of years is thinking about the idea of discipline, because I think discipline has a very bad connotation. Like if somebody does something wrong, then they're disciplined, or a dog's supposed to be doing something wrong, you discipline a child, discipline. But I think that the connotation that we have with discipline is actually incorrect. I think discipline, if used correctly, is possibly the greatest form of self-love, because you don't have to have any discipline to do something that's not good for you. So if you want to, sleep in every single day of your life, you don't have to have discipline for that. If you don't want to go to the gym, you don't have to have discipline for that. If you want to just eat the crappiest food that's out there, you don't need discipline for it. But if you want to wake up earlier, you want to, make sales calls, grow a business, if you want to get your body in the healthiest shape you possibly can, you need discipline for it. And discipline is always needed for something that is good for you. And so the thing that I think people need to do is they need to develop a different relationship with discipline, so that they don't think I'm doing this because I hate myself, or because something's wrong, or because whatever it might be. It's I'm going to become a more disciplined person because I love myself so much. And, for me, I wasn't a disciplined person at all before I developed, got into self-development. I was, number one, I was a surfer. I was a stoner. I did a bunch of drugs, did a bunch of partying. I slept in, made excuses, never made any money, never really had a whole lot of happiness. And then when I was 19 years old, I got into a sales company, and I learned, okay, if I'm going to sit down and make phone calls, hundreds of phone calls to people who have no clue that I'm about to call them, every single day, I need to be disciplined. And it was this thing of, okay, I know what my life could be if I take this action, and my life will be better if I take this action. I don't want to take this action, but I know that my life will be better if I take this action. So I'm going to take this action because I know future me will thank me for it. And what's really cool about discipline, there's a whole lot of science, neuroscience has been found. There's a part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, which is basically where they're thinking that discipline and willpower come from. And so for people who are athletes, like professional athletes, they have a larger than average anterior mid-cingulate cortex than the average person. Not because they were born that way, but because of the fact that they grew it. It's like a muscle inside of, you want to work your biceps. If you just do a whole bunch of curls, your biceps are going to get bigger. It works the exact same thing with this part of your brain. So they have found that people who have very little discipline, very little willpower, people who are, extremely obese, they found have a small mid-anterior cingulate cortex. But if they start working out and doing things that they don't want to do, but things that are good for them, that part of their brain actually grows. And so I think if people need to figure out, how do I get ahead of other people? The thing that I think is, well, what is everybody else doing? And do the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. Most people are hanging out on their phone. They're not doing a whole lot. And so I'm looking at that and going, well, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to do the things I don't want to do that I know that are good for me. I'm going to develop a different relationship with discipline. I'm going to be more consistent in everything that I do. And I think if people just do that for a long enough period of time, then their entire life is going to change.
Yeah, I can agree more. And I think what you're getting at is that discipline is the ability to choose discomfort.
Yes.
When your mind and brain want to do the easy thing.
We always want comfort.
We always want comfort. But I guess the biggest challenge people have is, Jay, I know that I want to do that, but I don't know how to change my habits. I don't know how to build that. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, one of the things that I say is I have this phrase where I say shrink the start of something. So there's a couple aspects of it. The first thing is, if you want to do something, it's easier to make the start of it as short as you possibly can. So let's say that I don't want to go running in the morning, but I know that I do want to go running in the morning for the betterment of me. Well, then how can I make it, knowing that humans resist change as much as possible? And if it takes more than 15 seconds to do it, a lot of times we won't do it. So if it's I'm going to shrink the start of making myself go for a run in the morning. So I know every morning I wake up and I brush my teeth, go to the bathroom, I get water, I brush my teeth. That's what I do. Then I'm going to take my running clothes and I'm going to put them right next to the sink. And if I really want to shrink the start, go to bed with them on. If you're waking up early and you want a cup of coffee, the thing that you want to do is make sure that you get a coffee maker that has an automatic timer on it so that by the time I'm done walking out of my room and into the kitchen, my coffee's already made. There's already water next to it. I just got to throw my shoes on. So it's like, how do I shrink the start? Because we're going to resist doing something. How do I shrink the start is the first part of it to make it easier for me to do. The other side of it as well, and I've known you now for 9 years. You work like this, you work, dude, but you are so passionate about what you do. And that's the other thing I think people need to realize is it's really hard to force yourself to do something that you don't want to do. And if you think about this, I know that when I worked jobs that I hated, that didn't feel like it was my life purpose, it used way more energy, physical, but especially mental energy, to get myself up in the morning, to have to take a shower, to wear a suit, to drive 30 minutes stuck in traffic with a bunch of other people who are pissed off honking at each other, to go to a job for 8 or 9 hours that I didn't enjoy at all, to go back home and sit in that traffic again, and then go and eat some food and watch some TV and know that I'm going to have to do that every day. Workday for the next 40 years of my life. Do you know how much physical but mental energy that takes from a human? Like, it's so much. And so if you think about it, does it require energy for you to hop on the plane and go there for 12 hours and then come back here and work and then do your workout? Does it require energy? Yes. But I would venture to say, because it's something that you love, it actually gives you energy more than it strips energy from you. When you're doing something that you don't enjoy, it steals energy from you. I saw a quote one time, and it was I'm changing it around a little bit, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was something like, if you do something that is out of alignment with what your purpose is in this world, you will have to come up with the energy for that. If you do something that is in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing in this world, the universe will provide the energy for you. And like, for me, I know 100% when we get done with this podcast episode, I will have more energy than I did when I first walked in this room. Why? Because this is the thing that I think that I was made to do. And I am so passionate about that, and it gives me energy, and I will have more energy throughout the entire day because I'm doing something that I actually love. And so I think that for people, if you're trying to be disciplined, number one, you can shrink the start, but number two, it's like, if you're trying to force yourself to do something that you don't love and something that doesn't, or just something that doesn't feel in alignment with who you are, it's going to require way more force than anything else.
How does someone build a new skill or competence? If someone goes, okay, I want to be a podcaster and I need to learn podcasting. I want to become a musician. I need to learn songwriting. I want to be a filmmaker. I need to learn editing. How do you start building a new skill? What are the steps to building any skill?
Well, I think consistency is the biggest part of it. Like, first off, you have to start. Like, most people, I remember watching a video years ago of Jared Leto being interviewed, and Jared Leto is one of the most famous actors and also a really famous musician. He's won the highest awards that you can win of both of those, right? And he said something that was really kind of like eye-opening for me. He said, when I was a child, he was homeschooled and he saw what people were doing. He said, when I was a child, I just realized that most people don't start. And as long as I start, I'll eventually be so much further ahead of anybody else. So I thought that was a really big piece of it. The piece that I'll add on is that if you just don't stop, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to win, whatever it might be. Now, can I go and just get a soccer ball and then become, Ronaldo? No, that's definitely not going to happen. But the thing about it is, I'm of the belief that when I do something, I'm not going to stop doing it until I get to wherever I feel like I want to go. I started a business years ago with my best friend, and another one of our friends was there, and he's like, why are you starting a business with Rob? And he was asking us, like, what is it that you guys like about each other? And my friend, in a nice way, said, Rob's like a cockroach. Like, he just doesn't die. And that's kind of the way I've built myself to be, is like, I don't think I'm the most talented person. I don't think I have the highest skill set. But I do know that when I find something that I want to do, I will at least try to play it out as long as I possibly can. For me, when I first started my podcast episodes, were they that great? No. Like, if I listen to my stuff now, it's so cringe to me 10 years down the road. I have developed confidence and competence. There's the confidence competence loop, which is, do I get confidence first or do I get competence first? You don't get either one of them, but you get both of them once you start doing something and you push your skills a little bit more. I love the idea of the 10,000 hour rule, which is, if you take 10,000 hours of dedicated practice towards something, you can eventually master it. And so if people are trying to become better at it, you have to be okay with not being good when you first do something. There's a quote that says, you cannot be a graceful master if you will not allow yourself to be a foolish beginner.
That's good.
And you've got to allow yourself to be a foolish beginner and screw up and be okay with screwing up, but knowing that everything that you're doing is getting you closer to being better. And so for me, like even with the podcast, when I first started it, I was like, I'm just going to do it. And if I like it, I'm going to keep going. And I liked it. And then there was going back to the question you asked a minute ago of like, you're not getting the response that you want and all of your likes and all this stuff. I got one email when I was getting 100 downloads back in 2015. I got an email 2 months in from a lady that said, I love your podcast. It's the only thing that's gotten me out of depression after my father killed himself 3 years ago. And I was like, that's the reason why I'm doing it. For that person that I had this feeling that I would be helping. And she's the only one that's emailed me. There's probably people who have never sent me an email that I'm helping them in some sort of way. And knowing that I'm doing that is what's driving me. And so, you know, with the podcast, for instance, we keep going back to it, but in 2015, I started the Mindset Mentor, and it stayed at the exact same, like after a year, it kind of leveled off at a certain amount of downloads. And it was doing well, but it wasn't like one of the biggest ones in the world. And then a perfect storm happened. So I started in 2015. 2020 happened. 3 things happened. Number 1, COVID happened. People were at home and they started listening to podcasts. Number 2, Apple Podcasts came out with the app. And so it was a lot easier to listen to podcasts. And number 3, Spotify came out with podcasts as well. Those 3 things, I went from the same number of downloads every single month for about 5 years to 70xing it in literally 3 months. And it was like the tipping point. It was just consistency. Boom, it exploded. And that's just what people need to focus on, is showing up every single day and putting in the work. And it's just compound interest. And over time, you eventually get to the point where the universe just clicks in place and it's like, here it is. And I see it as a test that God or the universe or life puts us through to say, let's see how long you'll do this. And I'm going to challenge you every single step of the way. And then eventually, there is a moment in time where I'm going to say, this is for you. You did it. You got to the point that you wanted to. Here's the stuff that you wanted. And I see it as a challenge. I'm like, let's play the game. I'm down for the challenge. Let's go for it.
The people are going to be making New Year's resolutions. And here's the thing. Most people will probably keep it going for 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. And then they'll have a bad day or a bad week, and then we'll throw it out.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I didn't eat sugar for 2 weeks. I was losing 2 pounds a week for 2 weeks. I was posting content for 2 weeks. And now the 3rd week I dropped off. Now I'm going to throw it all away because I messed up and I lost it because I wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
How do we get back on? Or 2 questions. Is everyone going to fall off? And if that's the case, if we're all guaranteed to fall off, how do you get back on without beating yourself up and making it feel like you're never going to get back on?
There's a couple different aspects of it that I'll go into. The first thing is that I see this all the time with people is that they will work out for 21 days and they'll stay on their diet and they'll do really well. And then this 22nd day, they don't plan correctly. They get on a flight, they end up missing it. And then they do, what do? They guilt themselves, they shame themselves, they talk trash to themselves. I knew you couldn't do it. You always do this. You always give up on something. And they take that one moment in time and they beat themselves up for it versus going, hey, you had a mistake. You didn't get this thing done that you wanted to, but I'm so proud of you for the 21 days. You have never worked out and kept to a diet for 21 days. I'm so proud of you for sticking to it. And instead of beating yourself up for day 22, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it as a data point and see what did I do wrong that ended up making me not be able to stay consistent so that on day 23, I can continue with the consistency. It's like, and I think the perfect quote for it is James Clear says, every action that you take is a vote for the person that you wish to become. So if you're the person that's like, oh, I'm going to throw in the towel, you've decided I'm the type of person that throws in the towel. But if you say, hey, I'm going to pick myself up as if my friend calls me and says, I worked out really hard for 21 days. I did really good. And today's my 22nd day and I screwed up. What should I do? Are you going to be like, you suck, you're stupid, I knew you wouldn't follow through? Whatever you say to yourself, no, you're going to say something different to your friend than you would to yourself. And so that's the first aspect of it. The second aspect of it is that I think people think in too short of terms. So I saw a statistic one time that said in order to create a habit, it takes between 60 to 100 days. Most people are focused on that time frame. Then if you go further past that, in order to change your lifestyle, it takes about 12 to 18 months. In order to change your identity, it takes about 3 to 4 years. And so for me, I realize that if I'm trying to do something, it's the same way that I was talking to you earlier, 3 to 4 years, and I'm gonna do this thing. And am I going to have success every single step of the way? No, but I'm dedicating my life to this thing because of what it's going to give me or my family or the world if I do this thing. And so I think if people look a little bit more in time frames of like 3 to 4 years, they might be able to give themselves more grace. They could also scare the crap out of themselves and be like, oh my God, I can't do this. It's gonna take so long. Or they could say, hey, it's a marathon. Life is a marathon. If you trip in the first mile of the marathon, you don't need to throw in the next 25 miles after that. You just continue to keep going. And with consistency and willpower, the last thing I'll say on this is that I think people are like, well, I just don't have any willpower. The people that I've found who are the most consistent, it's not that they have more willpower than the average person. They might, but it is they have designed an environment in their life that does not test their willpower. If you put a bag of Skittles in front of me in my house, it's gone today.
Me too.
It's gone.
Too.
But if I don't have Skittles in my house, I don't eat them. So I intentionally tried to design my environment to not fall into pitfalls that I don't want to fall into, to be as productive as I possibly can. Like if I'm trying to get productive work done for 2 hours, my phone's going to be in the kitchen. And so it's like, can I design an environment where discipline and consistency and willpower are easier versus making it so hard on myself?
Yeah, that's to me is the biggest one because yeah, you can't have your refrigerator full of all the stuff you don't want to eat.
No,
expect
I'm eating
your
all of it.
willpower. Yeah. I don't have enough willpower for that either. If something's right here, I'm going to have it. That's absolutely. And how should someone think about setting goals for 2026?
Yeah, good question. I love this one because I did it wrong for a long time, like 15 years. So I'm the type of person that gets excited by goals. Most people say, okay, well, I'm going to try to lose 40 pounds this year. That's my number one goal. You know, I'm going to listen to what Rob and Jay say. I'm going to focus on one thing. I'm going to lose 40 pounds this year, and this is what I need to do to get there. The problem with that is most of the time you'll go to the gym, you'll work out, then you'll come back, you work out for 2 weeks, you take a shower, you see yourself naked in the mirror, and you're like, oh, still not there yet, right? And people will actually make themselves start to feel bad about not being at the destination that they want to get to. The problem with that is that our brains are addicted to dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical of motivation. Whenever we get it, we want more of it, and we will work hard to go get more of it. And so there's a thing that's called a dopamine reward system, and this is super important for people to start to understand. If you want to change your life and become addicted, you know, not in a bad way, but addicted to the things that you need to do to make your life better, you need to develop some sort of dopamine reward system. And the way you do that is, so there's results-based goals, but then what you do is you create something that's called daily action-based goals, which are, as long as I get these things done every single day, it is a success. Not when I lose the 40 pounds, it's a success. When I do this thing, whatever the thing is, and it can change each day depending on your diet and whatever it is you need to do, that is a success. And when you have that success, if you can get good at celebrating yourself, which sounds weird, but neurologically is super important, your brain will release dopamine, which then says the action that I just did, made me feel good. It gave me dopamine. I want to do it again. And so a better way of doing it is, if I've never been to the gym and I want to lose 40 pounds, and on January 1st, I say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. Walking in the door is a success, not looking at myself with 40 pounds off. And then you got to change the way that you speak to yourself. You got to change the way you speak to yourself. And so you sit there and you go, okay, you walked in the door. I'm so proud of you. You're going to do this. I believe in you. You go on and you say, okay, I'm going to go on the treadmill for 10 minutes. Okay, 1 minute down. You're doing such a good job. 2 minutes down. When you do these little celebrations, you get this little tiny bit of dopamine. Your brain is saying the action that was just taken is something that we got dopamine for. We want to do it again. When you do your first set, you celebrate yourself. Your second set, I like to, when I work out, look myself in the eye after it and in my head be like, I'm so proud of you doing such a good job. I'm so proud of you doing such a good job. Then when you get done, you're like, man, I feel really good. You're more likely to do it again tomorrow. And so what you do you create these long-term results-based goals, you shorten them to action-based goals that need to be done today, and then you develop a system to give yourself dopamine, to make it feel good, because when it feels good and it feels rewarding, you want to show up and do it again tomorrow. And if you do that every single day, eventually you get semi-addicted to the process. And the people who are the most successful in the world are people who have fallen in love with the process, not the end result. And so if you look at like for instance, Kobe Bryant, right? He used to wake up at 4:00 in the morning, every single morning to work out. And I don't know if he knew he was creating a dopamine reward system, but he talks about, when he talks about Mamba mentality, is his greatest thing that he loved about himself and what made him feel the best was the feeling of I'm working out when everyone else is sleeping. I will get into my second workout when they're starting to get into their first workout. I'm twice as far as they are. He created a dopamine reward system that got him addicted to the process. And when you're addicted to the process, the end result is going to be way better. And I think if people can do that, I think that the entire year will change for them.
I've never heard someone explain it like that. I love the idea of creating a dopamine reward system, that the story he was telling himself was giving him the dopamine.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
Yep. It's all we are doing is just having stories in our head. It's like the example that you see many times where someone's like, all right, the room that you're in, look around and see how many red things you can find. You look around for all of the red things, and you look around for the red things. And they say, close your eyes. How many blue things did you see? And everyone's always like, 0. It's because you weren't looking for that thing. It's not that it wasn't there. It's just that you weren't looking for it. And so, a lot of us, we're looking for the what's going wrong, what's not the way that we want it to be. And that's just the perception of the way that we look through the world. I mean, humans have, something that's called the negativity bias. We are going to look for what's negative, and it's a protection mechanism.
Yeah. Wayne Dyer said, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
Yeah.
And I think it's so fascinating how we're always trying to change the situation.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said this, but it's a famous quote that says, we're always trying to change the situation, not realizing we were put in that situation so that we can change. And I think another layer to that is what you're saying is, not only are we always trying to change the situation and don't want to change ourselves, sometimes you don't have to change yourself fully, you just have to change your lens.
100%.
And so there's 3 things to change.
Yeah.
Your lens, yourself, or the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of our focus goes on the thing.
Yeah.
And life doesn't work well when we only focus on the thing.
Right.
And so when we focus on changing ourselves and our lens, all of a sudden you've expanded your opportunity of what to change, because sometimes the situation just won't change.
Most of the time it won't change. And that's what stresses people out, is because we want to control most things. And we can control almost nothing. It's so, out of everything that happens in your life, you can control 0.1%. I always say, you think that you could control everything happening around you. You can barely control your bowels after Taco Tuesday. You can barely control that. And you're like, I'm going to change the universe. I'm going to change everything around me. It's like, maybe instead of changing the universe and changing all the circumstances, maybe I should change my relationship to those circumstances and see if that helps me.
Yeah.